Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Let us commence with our book study. Apprenticed to Magic by W.E. Butler. Quite possibly the final reading on this book. So let's see where we left off previously. Yep. This is where we begin. Or should I say, this is where we end. Peace, greetings, and good evening to everybody present. Relax, you good 11. Peace, peace. Jebald Hayal, peace, good evening. Cosmic Traveler, peace. John Ali, peace. So let's go ahead and let's get it cracking. Let's get it cracking. WVT, peace, peace. So, we begin with the last few chapters of this book, Apprenticed to Magic. Letters from a master occultist to his apprentice, to his student, namely you, the listener, the reader. By the way, if this is something that you like, please go ahead and show that like by hitting the like button. Believe it or not, it actually helps. J. Baldhale says, yo, I think we are skipping a chapter. Let's see. I believe that we read through this chapter last time. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Let me see. Yeah, that's right. We did stop there. What's up? Huh? What? Okay, so let's begin here at chapter 12. This is where we are. Thank you, J. Baldale. Richard Tracy, peace, peace. Sunshine Chick, peace. Always good to see you. So, let us continue with chapter 12, bringing through the power. In the last set of instructions, I gave you the method of building up the two great terminal points through which you are to draw the energies which are required for the work. Now I want to go a stage further and show you how to bring through these forces into your etheric or your vital body, from which they will work upon all levels of your personality. It is important that you should remember that these forces are to be brought into the etheric, not the physical body. Since each cell in your physical body is a living thing, it possesses consciousness of an exceedingly rudimentary type, but nevertheless, consciousness. And the consciousness aspect of these millions of living cells is located in the etheric body. Thus, by charging the etheric with the energies you draw through, you affect these cells directly. Interesting. So, what he described there in a few words, as he has masterfully done throughout this book, describing, deep occult concepts with just a few words. Essentially, the relationship between the physical body and the etheric body has traditionally been known to be very close, right? You got your physical, the etheric, the astral, the mental, the spiritual. But of all those different bodies, the physical and the etheric are often thought of as basically two sides of the same coin. The physical body really isn't anything without its etheric counterpart. And what he's explaining here is that every single cell of the physical body does possess consciousness. Even if it's of an extremely basic type, it's still consciousness. And the consciousness of the cells of the body doesn't exist within the physical body, but it exists within the etheric aspect of the body. So the consciousness of the body, right? This animal body that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, the consciousness of the body itself is symbolized and represented within the etheric. Interesting. Luxury Newman, peace. What do you think about that? Because usually whenever you hear about the different bodies of the human, just about nobody mentions the etheric. Now, I mean, that can be understood because just about nobody on the internet teaches correct occult science, especially as time passes and the real ones go to the next plane. The etheric body hardly gets much mention. But from what I've seen, there isn't really any consistent work with the aspect of the astral or the mental without the etheric. So what he's saying here also is that when we're tapping into this power, when we're tapping into these cosmic forces, right, from any number of these forces that we talked about previously, bringing them through, what that actually means is that we are aligning the etheric body with these forces. Now, if the etheric body is the consciousness of the physical body, then doing this work of channeling spiritual energy comes into contact with the etheric body. And then the etheric body expresses the change, expresses the difference, expresses the reflection and the physical. Let's keep going. So thus by charging The etheric, with the energies you draw through, you affect these cells directly. The actual psychic centers are located in the region of the spinal column, but they extend out to the surface of the etheric body, about 3 inches beyond the physical self. For the work you have to do in this preparatory training, it is important that you obey this instruction most carefully. Never try to concentrate on the centers in the spinal column. There are powers and forces which lie dormant therein, and these, if aroused prematurely, can produce very undesirable results. This, as far as I am concerned, is not a matter of theory. So always remember this in all your work with these powers. There are certain perfectly safe methods of operating upon the centers. These methods use certain symbolic images as points of contact, and these symbols are taught to you at a later stage of your work. But for the present, do just as you are told, as far as the centers are concerned. Peace, Rafsophames. Peace, Kevros SS God. Peace, MC Maestro. You will remember that I told you of other contact points through which the living energies must be directed: Doth, Tifereth, and Yasad. Again, remember that it is to the surface points in the aura that your attention should be directed, and not to the actual centers within. Let me read that again. Remember that it is to the surface points in the aura that your attention should be directed, and not to the actual centers within. Do you understand the difference? Do you understand the difference of what he's saying right there? MC Maestro says, I don't understand the difference. So let's talk about the two that he's mentioned here, right? Because we talked about the physical body and he talked about the etheric body. This is why this is so important, and this is why he's listing it first. The etheric body is the subtle aspect of the physical body. The physical body is the dense, tangible, animal body. This is the physical body is, we know what it is. You walk around in it, you smell with it, you taste with it, you see with it. It is a dense meat suit. It's a meat suit that can sense changes in its environment. It can sense heat, cold. It can sense light and darkness, sharp and dull, loud and quiet. That's the physical animal body. But see, the mind of that body, the consciousness of that body, resides in the etheric aspect, right? So just like he said up here, the millions and billions of cells in the physical body, each one of them contains its own consciousness, even if it's an extremely simple rudimentary consciousness. And the totality of that consciousness of the cells of the body is represented by the etheric body. So you've got two aspects here. You've got the hard, physical, dense, and the subtle, conceptual, subjective aspect of the body. So what he's saying here is that when you're bringing down and channeling focus into these chakra points, you bring your focus to the chakra points in the etheric body, not the actual points on the physical body. If you do your study, you know that the chakras line up with and correspond with specific glands in the physical body. So what he's saying here is you don't want to close your eyes and focus all of your attention and your awareness on the hypothalamus, not on the physical organ, right? Because in doing that, you might actually trigger a reaction that you didn't intend to trigger. But instead, you're supposed to bring your focus to the subjective aspect, the chakra point, right? The whatever you visualize as that chakra in the etheric body, a glowing ball of light, a wheel, even the symbol, a color. Because again, you're communicating with the consciousness of that part of the body, not that actual part of the body. Oh yeah. So, you will remember that I told you of other points of contact through which the living energies must be directed: Doth, Tifereth, and Yesod. Again, remember that it is to the surface points in the aura, right? The aura, which is another word for this etheric body. It's to the surface points in the aura that your attention should be directed, not to the actual centers within. On the Tree of Life, the Sephiroth corresponding to the psychic centers are shown in color. But for the first steps in this exercise, it may be easier for you to simply visualize plain circles of white light on the surface of the etheric body. The Sephiroth Doth is located over the throat. Tifereth is over the general area of the solar cardiac plexi, and Yesod over the region of the generative organs. I want you to study these instructions very carefully, since every part of them has its reason for being there, and its omission would cause the exercise to lose much of its value. First of all, let us consider the posture you should adopt. It is immaterial whether you lie flat on the back, sit on your chair in the way that you've always been shown, or you've already been shown, or stand erect. For preference, I would choose sitting in the God form position, but you must find which of these three positions seems best for you. Actually, I have known people who found that the kneeling position was best for them. In these matters, there is often a good deal of latitude. If the principle underlying the exercise is being properly carried out, then the position is a secondary thing. It is well to remember, however, when at a later date you perform some of the advanced exercises, you will have to adopt the postures which go with them, and not vary therefrom. For the present, however, find which position suits you best, and having done this, keep to it throughout your training. You must now begin to use a simple breathing exercise. For the time being, forget anything which you may have read about prana and its connection with breathing. It is quite true that by using the breathing in a certain way, you can greatly increase your intake of this form of vital energy. But that is not the purpose of this present instruction. You have, by visualization, built up your two terminal points, the one above your head and the other beneath your feet. The more clearly they have been built, the more effective will be your exercise. This is where so many apprentices are found out. The magical diary may be faked, and for quite a time they can get by with it, but when the later exercises are attempted, they find they are unable to carry them out successfully. However, as I know from other sources that you have worked hard on these elementary exercises, I am sure that you will be able to carry out this one with complete success. Sitting, standing, lying, or kneeling in your chosen posture, visualize the terminal center above your head as a glowing globe, or sphere of pure white brilliance. Visualize this brilliance as being so intense that its radiance streams out around it, interpenetrating your entire body. For a short time, rest, as it were, in the white light. Bathe in it and allow it to enter your entirely relaxed body. Then concentrate your attention upon the center of this radiant sphere and mentally draw from it a stream of concentrated white light. At the same time, taking a deep breath. Although you are breathing through the nose and inhaling the physical air, you must also see and feel yourself to be drawing in this stream of radiant energy from the very center of the sphere of light above your head. This stream of white light should be seen mentally as being, for the moment, stored around the solar plexus center. This is Tifereth on the Tree of Life. You are now left with two things: a charge of air in the lungs and a charge of energy around the solar plexus. As you exhale the air from your lungs, you must, at the same time, visually project the indrawn energy in the form of a shaft of light downwards through the Yesod center to merge finally into the swirling sphere of color beneath the feet. You may notice at this point that I have made no mention of the center above the throat that we attribute to the Sephirah Doth. This is for a very good reason. Doth is a terminal point for a very different set of energies which are coming in from another dimension. Who knows what that is? And for the time being, we are not concerned with them. Later, we shall bring Doth into the picture. Peace, Anamali. Richard Tracy asks, when he talks about the God form position, is that internally? So, the God form position is literally being seated with your hands on your knees. Think about those specific statues in Kemet in Egypt, where these giant statues are outside of the temple and they're all seated with their hands on their knees looking forward. That's the God posture, the God form position. So basically what he described there was laying down on your back, sitting in that God form posture, or standing up. Jay Baldhale says, kind of reminds me of the middle pillar. You're absolutely right. In fact, what he's describing here, the middle pillar, the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, you'll notice that there is a pattern between all of those exercises. And if you've done all those exercises, or if at least you know the steps of the lesser banishing ritual, the middle pillar, what he's describing here, pillar of light, there's different names for this same thing. Find what is the recurring pattern between all those. That's the actual ritual. The rest of it, it's extra stuff that has different purpose, different intention. But the real root of this is breathing in a conscious alignment from crown to root. That's something that you want to do so many times that you can unconsciously do it at any random moment that your body realizes that you might need a new shot of LVX. The same way that the Vedic teachers talk about mantra, right? They recommend that you pick a certain mantra and you recite it 1,000 times or 10,000 times. Well, it's not about the number. It's about doing it so much that it begins to run on autopilot in the subconscious mind. That's the real purpose of ritual, to ingrain it into the subconscious mind so it can do it. Basically, the subconscious mind, it is its own operating system, right? Now, when you do ritual like this, you're feeding a new program into the operating system. And once that program has been accepted into the subconscious, it can now be accessed and utilized whenever necessary, right? Just like if your program says, I'm hungry and I need to eat, you know that there's a program called walk out to the driveway, get in your car and drive to the grocery store, buy some food and come back. Or you know that there's a program that says, open up the app in your phone and order some food to your doorstep. You know that there's different programs to run to resolve that need. When you're performing these rituals on a regular basis, when you're doing these mantras on a regular basis, you're training this artificial intelligence called the subconscious mind. You're training it to have a different way of completing a task. So if you feed the subconscious mind a new program that is to draw in light into the etheric body to utilize, when it needs it, it will know what to do. That's the real purpose of these types of ritual. there isn't too much that you're actually doing by chanting and vibrating in a room and waving your hands everywhere. You know, it might look cool, might make you feel good, and that does its own thing. But ultimately, what it's doing is it's implanting a program into the subconscious so that it can be accessed and utilized when your subconscious recognizes that there's a need for it. Make sense? Maketh senseth. Frieza backshots from the world. Eddie Vasquez asks, are you reading the Bible? Absolutely. Absolutely. Muhammad Ibrahim. Is this the same dude from earlier? You're literally watching this live stream waiting to promote your cult. Well, do what you gotta do. Alligator the Greater, peace, brother. Alligator says, just had an aha moment by learning that the rituals are programming the subconscious mind. Absolutely. And you know what's really cool about this? Now, homie earlier mentioned that this sounds like the middle pillar. And I said, hey, it also sounds like the lesser banishing and a few others. Well, one of the things about the occult is repetition. Listen, a great teacher told us that there's 3 ways to really impact the subconscious mind. That's through repetition, that's through symbols, and that's through trauma, or what I say, an emotional spike. Well, the thing is, as we study this information, we're seeing the same stuff over and over and over. Like, new people come in and they're like, oh, this is so cool, I didn't know that, this is new. But after a while, you start seeing the same stuff over and over and over again. Now, what's happening is that there's only so much to talk about in human life, but also the occult. But this learning process goes in spirals. You have to ruminate on this knowledge and put it into practice so that the subconscious mind has enough resources to construct and build knowledge and wisdom into. So in other words, we've got to hear this stuff many times before it clicks. Repetition is a powerful thing. Wolverine, peace. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Also, the ratio between likes and viewers is astronomically unbalanced. If you like this information, please hit the like button. I ain't too proud to ask every 5 minutes. So where we at? Ah, yes, at the top. So we talked about, you may notice that this point that I have made no mention of the center above the throat, which we attribute to the Sephiroth Doth. This is for a very good reason. Doth is a terminal point for a very different set of energies, which are coming in from another dimension. And for the time being, we are not concerned with them. Later, we shall bring Doth into the picture. Now we know that he's talking about the clip off there. Uh-oh. Clippity clip off. Let's keep going. Now comes the second part of this exercise. The charge of power which you have stored and have projected downwards to the Earth center must now be replaced by a corresponding charge which is drawn from the Earth contact beneath the feet. Luxury Newman, if you're still in the chat, this may sound similar to the message that you sent me earlier. What if Kether is reaching down with the same intensity that Malkuth is reaching up? So as you visualize this multicolored Earth center below the feet, breathe in again and visualize the energy as a shaft of orange-colored light being drawn up through the Yesod and Tifereth centers into the center above the head. Now exhale the breath, and on the next inhalation again draw upon the white brilliance. This completes the first exercise, and at the start of your practice, you should complete the sequence not more than 6 times. It may be that you will find 6 times to be too many. If so, reduce to half that number until you feel able to increase to the maximum. Here, as in all these things, individuals vary, and it is very difficult to lay down any fixed rule. You must find out for yourself the best procedure to adopt in your own particular case. One thing, however, is definite and final. Peep this. You must not supplement these exercises with snippets taken from Arthur Avalon's Serpent Power or similar works. And for those of you who don't know, which you should, the Serpent Power was the first book written for white folks, for Western civilization, about Kundalini, about chakras. This was the first book written for the modern world to be introduced into chakra science, Kundalini science. Before this book, in 1901, somewhere in between then, before that, the Western world had no idea what the hell a chakra was. At least not publicly, right? So what he's saying, so like, you know, this book was written in, I want to say 1960-ish or so, this one here. So this book was still kind of a big deal back then. Of course, by this point, everybody's a chakra expert. And I mean that extremely sarcastically. So one thing, however, is definite and final. You must not supplement these exercises with snippets taken from Arthur Avalon's Serpent Power or similar works. If you break this rule, then all further instruction from me will cease, and you will be held to have failed in your apprenticeship. That's a big deal. This man says, if you try to splice in my teachings with that book, we are finished. We are done. You might as well hang it up because we through dealing. Through dealing. The matter is as serious as that. Well, damn, that makes me want to go open up that book, right? Jawoke Vids says, where am I? You're on the verge of going back to sleep, Mr. Woke Vids. I know the fascination of Bluebeard's chamber can be very great. I went through this myself. But it is not simply a matter of doing something which is not in the book of rules. These energies are powerful for good or ill. And if you attempt to mix the energies given you with others belonging to a different system of training, then you will disorganize the finer forces in your own self. And the results of this disorganization are not good. either physically or psychically. Again, this is not a pious repetition of what someone else has written. It is something which I know from my own observation to be true. So I hope you will see the reason for the strict adherence to instructions, for therein lies safety. I like to imagine now that there have been several currents carved out, right? For example, in this particular current that I am a part of, there's a lot of mixing and matching going on. But there's also a lot of successful, repetitive results. So I think that, this was written really in some of magic's early days in the West. When I say West, I mean like our modern time. Many people have dipped and dabbled with many different things. I like that one. Sunshine Chick says the metaverse. That's going to be my answer. The metaverse. Because they come in here and ask them same questions each and every time. At first I was thinking, okay, it might be like one person doing different accounts. Then I thought maybe it's trolls. But now I'm thinking maybe like the whole NPC, collective unconscious, general public literally only has like maybe 5 different responses that they can react to this kind of thing. Maybe it's not a troll. Like maybe this is like one of the only 3 responses that are in their vocabulary. What book is this? The Bible. Okay, thanks. Every time. MC Maestro says the dharmic barrier is much lower than back then. Yeah. The dharmic barrier. All right, let's keep going. In any case, you will find that these exercises provide you with quite enough to do without any additions. When you have thoroughly established this first exercise, you will be ready to begin the second one, and this again starts from the radiant center above your head. When you have assumed your usual position for these exercises, you can begin to visualize the radiant center above the head. But this time, you must see it as radiating a sheet of light, which is the full width of your body. I have found that the best way to do this is to visualize the center of radiance as a point in a waterfall of light, as though you looked up at the top of the waterfall and saw the sun cutting the line at the top of the fall at its middle. Interesting. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Have you tried the lasagna? How's the weather? Catch the game last night? What book is this? Is this the Bible? This is satanic. So are you able to see that? Like what he just described there? Instead of a radiating point of light at the top, this is more like a waterfall of light, like a sheet of radiant light coming down. And as you look up, you'd see Kether as like the sun cutting through the middle point of that waterfall coming down. Let's continue here. Now picture the falling sheet of light as coming down in front of you and see it pouring around your feet. Can you see that now? Then quickly turn it below them, through the earth center, and bring it back behind your body, up and over your shoulders and neck, back to the center of your head. All right, so did you catch all that? You got this waterfall coming down from the great brilliant light above your head, Kether. This waterfall of light, not water, but it's light, flowing down in front of you, all the way down to your feet, and it's actually penetrating the ground, and it's curving under your feet and coming back up from behind you, all the way back up to the brilliant light above your head. So you've got this ribbon of light that's encircling you. Can you imagine that? Spirit 619 says waterfall of light. Beautiful, right? Dynamite. So, as you do this visualization, you should breathe as follows. Breathe in as you first visualize the crown center. Then you exhale. As you exhale, visualize the sheet of light falling in front of you. As you again inhale, see the light rising behind you as I have explained. When it has been drawn back to the crown center, breathe out. And then with the new inhalation, steady your attention again on that center. This completes the cycle of operations. So essentially, you focus on the crown, so breathe in as you first visualize the crown center. So you breathe in as you're focusing on the crown. As you exhale, visualize that sheet of light falling in front of you, right? Now again, as you inhale, see that light rising up behind you. It's like you're pulling it up as you inhale. And when it's back to your crown, breathe out. And then right there at the crown still, breathe in again and repeat the process. Interesting. Let me try that. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. Are you guys trying this? Did y'all get that? Jay Baldhill says kind of like doing the auric eggshell. Yeah. All right. Hopefully you've tried it. The complete exercise should be repeated several times, but in the beginning, I would advise you to make the number the same as in the first exercise, like he said, about 6 times. The next exercise is similar to the first one, but the sheet of light is sent over the left shoulder, down the left side, under the feet, and through the earth center, then right back up the right side to the crown center. Breathe in as you contact the crown center. Exhale as the light is projected down the left side. Again, inhale as it is brought up the right side. And as it is poured back into the crown center, you should breathe out. The number of times you should do this is the number of times this should be done is the same as for the first exercise. I love the Bobby Hemmett reference, Starlion. Tell that motherfucker he owe me some money. You are now ready for the final exercise. The consists of drawing the white radiance from the crown center and mentally winding it round your body in broad wrappings of light, as though you were wrapping an Egyptian mummy in its linen bandages. Wind from the right-hand side round your body to the left. So you start at the right, and you come up around the left, then cross from the left-hand side to the right. Repeat this until you have reached the feet. Then continue in the same direction, but let your wrapping of light rise up the body until it is ended above the head. Inhale as you make the initial contact with the crown center. Exhale as you go down the body. Inhale as you come back up. And once more, you have reached the crown center. Exhale. Again, do not repeat this sequence beyond the limits of the other exercises. Beam, bam, boom. Jay Baldhale says, oh shoot, now that he says the mummy part, I have done this exercise before. It is very wonderful. First, I learned it from Damien Eccles. Peace, Philip. Oh yeah, page 86. MC Maestro says, I wonder the types of bots that would come if you broke down the Bible. I don't know, maybe we should try it. We should try it one day. Just get on here and do a particular section of the Bible and see what happens. Who knows, it might boost my engagement. All right, let's keep going. So far, you have, as it were, been pulling out the energy of the radiant center above the head. But this is only a beginning, a laying of a rough channel through which that energy may pour. Now you have to open the sluice gates and allow the energy to pour out through you at a much higher pressure. Here you'll need to use your discretion. Always remember that these forces, though divine in their origin and nature, like every other force in this manifested universe, are capable of being misused. To return to our engineering analogy, do not open the sluice gates to more power than you can safely control. Jay Baldhale says, I'm down and we can read Manly P. Hall's How to Understand Your Bible. I might get that one. Manly P. Hall, How to Understand Your Bible. Let me type that in real quick. You got 72 motherfuckers in your head. Next book study, the Bible. All right, so check this out. Don't pull down more energy than you can handle. What's he talking about? All right, because what he's saying here is, at this point, where this particular exercise, you're going to increase the pressure. You're going to increase the pressure of this energy. He says, the amount of energy which you can draw from the radiant center is measured by your realization of it, right? See, this is how you work with energy through the mind. Look what he says. The amount of energy which you can draw from the radiant center is measured by your realization of it. If you think of that center as a positive pole of the cosmic battery, then you will see that it is necessary for you to have some means of checking its tremendous energy. This is equally true of the fiery center below the feet. Here's the key to the control of the incoming energy. You have been studying and meditating on the glyph of the Tree of Life, and you will have noticed that it is said that there is a tree in every Sephiroth. Our waking consciousness is centered down here in the kingdom, Malkuth. And in most cases, in Malkuth in Asaya. Malkuth in Asaya. Right? You know about the four worlds. I know that you all are very well studied, so you don't need a diagram. But I'm going to show you one anyways, right? We know that there's a tree within every tree. Here's a diagram of the tree. And notice how it is split into these four sections. Atziluth at the top, Bria right below it, Yetzirah, and what's that at the very bottom? Asaya, right? And this can be looked at in terms of density. The most dense at the most bottom, and the most subtle at the most top, right? So if we know that the framework of the tree is these 10 Sephiroth, the framework of the tree is Malkuth, the kingdom at the bottom, right? Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Tifereth, Giberah, Chesed, Bina, Chokmah, Kether. That's the framework of the tree. And when we've got these four worlds, these frameworks are repeating in all four worlds. So this is the Malkuth of Asaya. This is the Malkuth of Yetzirah. This is the Malkuth of Bria, the Malkuth of Atziluth. This is where you and your human body is, right? And look at this vast difference of other angles and aspects of consciousness, right? When they say you only use 10% of your brain, that's a Kabbalistic statement. That's a Kabbalistic statement. So what most people believe is reality, they're only down here looking at the dirt. And there's all this to go. So, I mean, compassion is kind of a prerequisite for this path and for this level of understanding. Because when the idiots show up, you have to not get upset and angry, because you realize that they literally have no other choice. The dude comes in and says, "Your mom, give me a break." BS. You can't get mad at that. He was probably a bulldog in his last life, sniffing ass and eating his own shit. You can't get mad at that. That's all he knows. Oh, goodness. So what did he say here? He said that our waking consciousness is centered down here in the kingdom, Malkuth, and in most cases, Malkuth in Asaya. So I just showed you that chart. It's the lowest point out of those 40 points, right? That is to say, we normally identify ourselves with the kingdom of earth in its densest and most restrictive aspect. Right? You must learn to center your consciousness for the duration of the exercise in Yesod of Malkuth. Uh-oh. Getting real specific here. Yesod of Malkuth. So in other words, if you see Malkuth, you'd visualize a tree inside of Malkuth, and you'd find the Yesod point. This is why it's so important to memorize these diagrams, right? And like I said, most of y'all here, y'all know this already. But for the ones who are like really brand new and actually trying to understand this information, it's gonna help for you to find a picture of the tree of life and memorize it. Learn it. That is your map. That's how you're gonna be able to navigate. Without a map, you're already lost. You're already lost, especially if you're coming here from TikTok or whatever else the hell y'all looking at. So you must learn to center your consciousness for the duration of the exercise in Yesod of Malkuth. Is this witchcraft? Like that? See what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's a reality that that person might have been a troll, but think about the reality that they weren't a troll. Like they're showing you how far their minds can extend. It can't extend very far. It'll go from what's this? Is this the Bible? Oh, this is witchcraft, right? Like, that's a mind undeveloped. It's a mind unrefined. That's why compassion is necessary, because like I said, you can't get mad at that. What did Bobby Hammett say? He said that's like getting mad at a dog for shitting on the carpet. PM Infinity says, I'm curious as to why the author mentions focusing on Yesod of Malkuth versus Yesod of Yesod. Well, this book is directed at absolute beginners. This book is directed at somebody who's just now learning how to utilize their awareness to direct energy into their etheric body. So if you'll notice, the exercises in this particular chapter, it starts from a basic focusing on the light, right? Then he focuses on, having this beam of light, the sheath of light. So he's gradually working and gradually helping you to expand your capability instead of rushing, into some unfamiliar territory. It's going to be a whole lot easier for any of us, any of you, to focus on the Yesod of Malkuth than the Yesod of Yesod, right? First of all, you've got to explore the whole tree of Malkuth to understand the limits of the physical plane. Once you found the limits of your physical experience, then you can stretch past it. That's another reason why just sitting down and meditating is so crucial to your learning, because as you meditate more frequently and more often, you start to see the limits of your physical existence from the outside in, right? If you try to explore the limits of your physical existence purely from the physical body, it's going to seem endless and limitless. So when you go up one level, you can kind of see it from the outside in. You can kind of look down on it and see it, see the edges and see the limits of it. So when he's talking about the Yesod of Malkuth, that's just going one step above Malkuth. Just one step above. I hope that makes sense. Philip says, you can never read too much of the Tree of Life. You're always learning something new. Absolutely. Starline says, blame Hollywood for sure. Yeah, I mean, but Hollywood is just a product of the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious as a whole is unrefined consciousness. So there really isn't anyone to blame. Like, this is literally the nature of humankind. Density of the body, density of the brain. Jay Baldhale says, recently somebody told me they don't fuck with the astral projection because that shit's from Insidious. Yeah. Ja Woke says, I do see a lot of witchcraft on your channel, though I'm new, so I'm curious too. Well, I mean, show me exactly what the witchcraft is. Are you talking about a scary thumbnail? Like, is the picture of the video scary? Is that the witchcraft part? What is witchcraft? What does that word even mean? Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So, you must learn to center your consciousness for the duration of that exercise in Yesod of Malkuth. That is, you must use the invoking formula in a carefully restricted manner. There are several forms of the invoking words, and you can choose which you will employ. I use the following: the fullness of power, of love and wisdom, pour down through me. Now let me ask you a question. Does that sound like witchcraft? Does that sound satanic? Does that sound demonic and evil? Like, really? But anyways, like I said, unrefined nins. The fullness of power, of love and wisdom pour down through me. This is the basic form. Now, according to the level of that energy which you desire to contact will be the controlling idea which you must use. In your case, you desire to work in Yesod of Malkuth, so your invocation should be somewhat as follows. Infinite power, love, and wisdom, present in all things, descend now through the most holy Gabriel and dispose and correct the designing of the representations which I have made. Now, as you visualize the radiant center, picture it as not only a sphere of radiance, but a source of intense energy, powerful, pressing down into the channels you have built, a positive, not a negative thing. Similarly, allow yourself to picture the Earth center in the same way as a dynamic source of energy. If you have performed the invocation correctly, i.e. sincerely, then you will not be in danger of allowing too much of the cosmic energy to sweep through the channels you have made. You'll find there is an automatic regulation in action. I know there are those who would say you cannot have too much of the divine power. It is all good. To this, the answer is that it is quite easy to have too much of a good thing, as the dying King Arthur tells Sir Bedivere in Tennyson's Ideals of the King. By the way, this is a poem which is worth reading if you are fond of poetry. In spite of its very Victorian style, it manages to convey much of the Morte d'Arthur of Malory. The whole Arthurian story is the cover for a very wonderful teaching concealed within its allegory and symbolism. Try reading the ideals or the mort microcosmically, i.e. let the principal characters represent the principal parts of your own self, your ego, your psychological shadow, etc. You may find it very interesting and helpful. And for those of you who like to research occult books, watch your screen closely because I'm going to show you one. It's very special. All right, so in this particular group, you know, with this author and his teacher and another fellow student, as he said, the legend of King Arthur is actually a veiled Kabbalistic lesson. You might want to check out this one here. Believe it or not, it goes deep into the Arthurian legend and how it ties into tarot and Kabbalah. Pretty neat stuff. Let's see here. Is that the wrong book? I think that might be the wrong book. Well, same author, different book. But to return to the invocation of energy, if you control the input of the cosmic life into the channels you have built, then it will work gently, but powerfully upon the various aspects of your being. And if, as is usually the case, it dissolves some of the mental complexes in your personal unconscious, the liberated energy will not surge up into consciousness in an uncontrollable flood, but it will be assimilated into your psychic economy in such a way as to strengthen rather than to overwhelm. Very cool. So this talks about how working with this energy has the side effect of doing shadow work for you. If you control the input of the cosmic life into the channels you have built, presupposing that you have to build these channels, right? If you control the input of the cosmic life into the channels you have built, then it will work gently, but powerfully, upon the various aspects of your being. And if, as is usually the case, it dissolves some of the mental complexes in your personal unconscious, the liberated energy will not surge up into consciousness in an uncontrollable flood, but it will be assimilated into your psychic economy in such a way as to strengthen rather than to overwhelm. Cool beans. During many years of work and study along these lines, I have seen many who, either through ignorance or presumption, attempted to call down the cosmic life in an uncontrolled manner. And I've seen something of the trouble, and in some cases the disaster which followed upon such ill-advised efforts. I want you to study very carefully the whole of this instruction on the control and circulation of the cosmic energy. Remember always that you are working at this stage in Yesod of Malkuth, in the world of Asaya. You are drawing in that primal power through the rainbow aura of the etheric aspect of the physical world. This should prevent you from assuming that you are far advanced. The sensations of power and the clarity of perception which result from the contact with the inflowing life power tend to make you feel that you are greater than you really are. And this can breed that pride of the false ego, which leads to trouble. Notice that doing a little bit of work can make you feel too big for your britches. In Basic Magic, Philip Cooper says, a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. And that's what we see, right? People who get a little bit of knowledge, and then all of a sudden, they are gods, master teachers, and whatnot. A little bit of knowledge can be a harmful thing. But this whole chapter, if you think about what he said, he's talking about pulling down this energy into the etheric body and the balancing of that process. The balancing of that process. When you work with cosmic energies, whether it be planetary, whether you're talking about demonic, angelic, whatever, the energy is going into the etheric body and it's being regulated by the systems that you have set up. And by systems you have set up, I'm primarily talking about belief systems that you have set up. Belief systems are very key when it comes to integrating this information, because if your belief system is faulty, if it's rigid, if it is unstable, then this energy will translate into your consciousness as something very disruptive. Now I'm stuck on that book. I'm gonna run and check my bookshelf real quick, because I swore I had the right one in here. Yippee-ki-yay! There it is. There it is. The secret tradition of the Arthurian legend. Yeah. I grabbed my tarot one because I was doing some tarot research. I thought I'd grab that one. Thank you, Sunshine Chick. I found out about that one through Bobby Hemmett. Or should I say people who were pretending to be Bobby Hemmett. There's an awesome 2-part book by Bobby Hemmett, and a large part of it is actually pages out of Gareth Knight's book. Because as I'm reading this, I'm like, damn, this is good. But then I was like, wait a minute, this don't sound like no Bobby Hemmett. And I started doing a reverse Google search on the words in the book, and it pulled up, lo and behold, Gareth Knight. So I went and bought that book instead so I can get the full story, instead of some people trying to make a quick coin off of somebody's name. Really got to research some of this stuff out here. That's why I said, like in my last video, do your research. Don't just take something just because somebody give it to you. It doesn't feel good to be bamboozled. Some Negroes will do anything to get your hard-earned money. Some people, it's a human thing. Let me not be too specific. Niochi says it's literally 3 a.m. and I'm watching this. Good for you. Good for you. Man. Trishanti Rock, peace. Trishanti says, new follower, kind of shy, but thanks for making this info accessible. I feel like I'm at Hogwarts, for real. Keep up the good work. Awesome. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Richard Tracy says they become some jackass on TikTok. Right. Can you imagine? Can you imagine taking pieces of other books, putting it together in a cheap-ass pamphlet, and putting somebody else's name on it, and then selling it as if that person wrote it? I couldn't sleep at night. I could not sleep at night. And they have the audacity to take all the free videos off the internet and then charge just to watch them. As if anybody's gonna sit here and watch that 8-hour lecture anyways. I don't know, man. Be grateful for the information that you have access to, because you never know. You never know. People out here are trifling. Trifling. But I ain't mentioning no names. Let's continue. Let's continue. So I'm thinking to myself, damn, if Bobby Hemmett wrote a book, wouldn't it be more popular, more talked about? Like, wouldn't more people be posting about this thing? Let me check that out and see what this is all about. The only thing, the back of it has like a little biography of Bobby Hemmett, but that's it. The rest of it is literally pieces of other books. And it's so bad that like the font is different. The formatting is different. Like, you can tell it was literally just a laser scan of other books put together. Oy vey. Oy vey. But yeah, I tried my hardest not to talk about that pamphlet. Chief Keef says Pinterest Grimoire. A Pinterest Grimoire. Visual OD says The Mystical Tree by Travis Magus, only $5, brother. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came out with some Brother Panic type stuff. I've seen, more people posting his videos on their page with advertising their products in between and after it. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, these folks here will do anything if y'all let them. This man just passed away. You're reposting his videos and splicing it with ads for your little Harataki pills, and I don't know, man. Just whew. Have you no standards? But what am I talking about here, right? This is the zoo, the beast planet, the animals that can talk and wear clothes. Compassion for them. May she grant us happiness. Chapter 13, Woven Paces and Waving Hands. All right, so we just talked about bringing this energy down. We talked about balancing it. Now let's get to some real work. The instructions I am sending today contain some of the elementary teachings about ritual and ceremonial. All being well, you will become a member of a lodge engaged in ritual work. It is well, therefore, that you acquire a clear idea of its nature and use. The general distinction between ritual and ceremonial is that a rite is something done, while a ceremony is the way in which that something is done. Y'all get that? You talk about a magical rite. A rite is something done. A ceremony is the way in which that something is done. But in general usage, the two terms are usually employed together. A ceremonial rite, ritual. As I dare say you know, there is considerable prejudice against ritual and ceremonial among spiritualists and the outer fringe of the psychic movement generally. And one of the favorite gambits of the average speaker on the spiritualist platforms is to refer contemptuously to the use of dogmas, creeds, and rituals of the Christian church, which are singled out for this attack, while strange customs from Eastern sources are often taken as the ways in which our Oriental brothers work, as I heard a speaker remark on one occasion. There is a very definite reason for this aversion to ceremonial on the part of the protagonists of spiritualism, and it is very largely a psychological one based upon certain subjective factors. Broadly speaking, there are those who have an inherent temperamental liking for colorful ceremonial, and they will naturally gravitate to movement where such ceremonial is employed. There are also others to whom ceremonial in its more ornate forms is repellent. We can therefore say that there are two extreme types, ceremonialists and non-ceremonialists, with varying degrees between them. This is the basic idea which you must keep in mind. Now, most of those who enter the psychic movements either know nothing about ceremonial or are in revolt against the formal orthodox Christian use of such ceremonial. Usually the revolt against certain Christian teachings extends to the methods of worship used by them, and the catalog of rites and ceremonies is widened to include creeds and dogmas. As this kind of thinking is illogical, I want to write about it for a while, since I want you to be able to approach this very important part of your work without any subconscious prejudices against it, or any illogical preferences for it. Bible. First of all, let us have a look at the word creed. It comes, as you will know, from the Latin credo. I believe, and a creed is therefore a statement of the beliefs held by a person or group of persons. Every movement, religious or secular, rests upon definite beliefs which are held by its members, and these constitute its creed. Can you take me higher? I forgot all about that J. Bald Hale. Although I would like the world to change, it helps me to appreciate those nights and those dreams. Man, I remember when Creed came out, they were a big deal. They were ambiguously Christian. Like, they'd never say they weren't, but they never would say that they were. That's how they were able to stay in the mainstream. To a place where blind men see. Damn, I'm gonna have to listen to that again. Dang, that was... I used to actually like that song. Man, that's a throwback right there. I think I remember riding on the bus to school listening to that. Riding on the bus to high school listening to that in my headphones. Framestar Films, peace. I felt that you would message here sometime soon. Starlion says, Creed reminds me of hot summer 2002 nights. Yes, sir. Garrett Patterson, peace. All right, let's keep going. Creed. Creed. I believe. Creed means I believe. Every movement, religious or secular, rests upon the definite beliefs which are held by its members, and these constitute its creed. Now for dogmas. If you state your belief in certain things in a definite and positive manner, then you are enunciating a dogma. For this is a term which, simply put, means that on the basis of what you believe, you put forward certain positive statements. Ritual and ceremonial are, as I have already said, things done in a certain way. Divorced from the purely religious setting, the whole of our lives provide a perfect example of ritual work. We do things in a particular way, and we use other things to achieve this ritual. The dining table is laid in a familiar ritual manner. Knives, forks, and spoons in customary order. Or for some people, disorder. An order which enables the ritual of the meal to be carried out in the best possible way. At the office or in the workshop, we tend to evolve a certain routine which enables us to do our work with the minimum of effort and the maximum of efficiency. I like that. Minimum of effort, maximum of efficiency. In the case of the workshop, we often find ritual of work imposed upon us by the time and motion men. So it goes, our whole lives are a constant rite and ceremony. Look, don't tell the scared Christians this, because we don't want to upset them. Are you telling me that a ritual isn't just with candles and crystals? You mean a ritual is how I wake up in the morning and brush my teeth and drain the lizard, as we used to say in the 90s? A ritual is eating that specific breakfast and getting that specific Starbucks coffee? That's a ritual? Oh no. Am I still saved? Will I still go to heaven? Interesting. And what's the point of a ritual? What's the point of a ritual? I love what he says here. Check this out. The point of the ritual is we tend to evolve a certain routine which enables us to do our work with the minimum of effort and the maximum of efficiency. Ritual is literally the product of evolution. Everything that we do nowadays is the product of us having done it in the past so many times that we just naturally find an easier way to do it. Anna Molly says, ritual Saturday night book study, right? Right. This is a ritual. Oh, no. Framestar Film says habitual/ritual. Right. Imagine being scared of words. Let's continue. Even those who are most opposed to ritual observance in religion, the Quakers, have a ritual of centering down in the silent meeting, and by their avoidance of ritual, establish a ritual of not being ritual. See how that works? In the case of the psychic movements, and especially in the spiritualist churches, they habitually use a rather truncated version of the Mass of the catechumens. This is the first part of the Christian Eucharist, and in the early days was the only part of the service which the unbaptized and the catechumens, those under instructions, were allowed to attend. With its prayers converted into extemporary utterances by the minister, it became the form of worship of the nonconformist churches, and the early spiritualists, who were mostly rebels from the nonconformists, adopted it for their own use. Mash Magus, peace. I see we're on the alternate account. Curiously enough, the real power and function of ritual has very rarely been realized by the members of the psychic movements. I say curiously enough because they are the very people who should have been able to see the underlying reasons for its use, since they claim to develop and use the psychic faculties. It is in the psychological and psychic realms that the power and appeal of ritual and ceremonial is to be found. Where's the power and appeal of ritual and ceremony to be found? Where? In the psychological and psychic realms, right? So you dressed in your attire, wielding your objects of power and your book and your words and all that stuff, that's great, as long as it puts you in a state where it affects your psychological and psychic realms. Ritual is all about impacting the subconscious mind. And I even said that on the previous chapter, talking about how repeating these rituals over and over and over again, it literally gives your subconscious mind a new option or a new alternative to solve problems that it didn't even realize that it could solve. The usual objections to the use of ritual and ceremonial are very largely based on prejudice and are one of the legacies of the Reformation. They are identified with the practices of the Roman Catholic Church and are therefore condemned out of hand and out of pocket. You would find, if you question members of the various Protestant bodies, that very few of the laity have anything but the vaguest idea of what the Roman Church actually does, or why she does it. This is unfortunate for many reasons, one of them being the difficulty of having any rational discussion on the subject. The Orthodox Eastern Church is seldom considered being vaguely thought of as some kind of variant of the Roman Church. Incense and vestments are two other things which arouse this irrational reaction. The same people, however, who object to the use of incense in the Christian church will cheerfully burn an oriental joss stick of doubtful origin in their seance room or private sanctuary. As for vestments, they are worth a little careful consideration, since if you enter the lodge, you will yourself be wearing the ceremonial robes of your grade. In the early days of the Christian church, the ministers used to wear the Sunday go-to meeting dress of the time. This for safety reasons also in the days of persecution, As time went on, fashions changed, but the church kept the now old-fashioned dress for its ministers, and the inevitable tendency towards symbolic ornamentation began to make itself felt. So through the centuries, the Eucharist vestments were evolved. J. Baldhill says Butler was a Catholic priest, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. MC Maestro says, I got a theory that Caesar was reincarnated as Christ's animal body. I'm curious as to what would lead you to that proclamation. John Max says, sorry, teacher, what page are we on? It's page 90. Page 90. Almost got banned. Asa A says, what the fuck? What is this weird? What waffle? Is that what you said when you opened your pants and looked down? I now slice you with the band sword. Marianne Schwint says, Jesus Christ has a white robe. They was in white robes. Who knows the rest of that story? At 144 Magnolia Street, I seen through the window of that house, Jesus had a white robe. I'll be right back. Rack 'em. It was in white robes. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Okay, let's continue with this. Okay, so if you have had any contact with the psychic healing work carried on in the spiritualistic churches, you may have noted the white coats worn by the healers. This, of course, began as an imitation of the coats worn by the medical profession in hospitals. Such coats, properly sterilized, are an aid to the general antiseptic precautions taken in these places, and to that extent would also be useful to the psychic healer. Many such white coats, however, are used which are distinctly neither sterilized nor white, and in practice they are used by the healers as a uniform of office. Given time, it is quite possible that we shall see the emergence of healing vestments in the same way as the church's vestments developed. Finally, I will draw your attention to one of the most anti-Roman and non-sacramental of Christian bodies, the Salvation Army. That they do great work among many thousands of people, work which the average churchman never even thinks of, is not to be denied. I do not wish you to think for a moment that I am in any way trying to disparage the work they are doing. At the time, it is interesting to note that these people who disapprove wholeheartedly of the Catholic vestments dress not only their ministers but all their members in a special uniform, in fact, a vestment. You may think that I am unduly critical in what I say about these various people, but it is sometimes useful to present the other side of the picture in order to correct the general ideas concerning the use or disuse of these things. In themselves, they are of secondary importance, for the Eucharist can be celebrated, worship offered, and esoteric training done without the use of any special dress. But as very valuable helps in all things, rites and ceremonies, vestments and incense have their uses, as you will find when you enter the lodge for training. Now let me try to explain something of the underlying power and significance of ritual and ceremonial as it is used in the lodges. First of all, there is the purely psychological value. Things are done in a certain way, and this way is in itself a teaching by eye gate. It is a well-known psychological teaching that the subconscious mind works very largely by picture images, and the various ritual of processions and actions appeal to this by presenting vivid images to the mind. The various actions of the rite which is being performed tell a story, and tell it in the best possible way as far as the subconscious minds of those taking part are concerned. The rite is so constructed that the images which are built in the minds of the participants correspond to the ancient and archetypal images in the depths of the mind, and these images, charged with power, are brought nearer to the surface of the personality and powerfully affected. This is the main function of the ritual and the ceremonial of the magical lodges. The power is brought through into the subconscious personality and works on all its levels, so that immediately or gradually, a definite change of consciousness is brought about. Sunshine Chick says Marketing 101. What? Huh? I can't hear you. You're whispering. Hmm? In closet, why? Hmm? Okay. Well, I'll get you some clothes then. You gonna take a shower now? Well, go ahead. Goodness gracious. Okay, another break. I gotta get my son his clothes so when he gets out the shower he can put something on. Give me just a sec to do that. Jeez Louise. Okay, back to it. Back to it. Okay, so you may think I am unduly critical in what I say about these various people, but it is sometimes useful to present the other side of the picture in order to correct the general ideas concerning the use or disuse of these things. In themselves, they are of secondary importance, for the Eucharist can be celebrated, worship offered, and esoteric training done without the use of any special dress. Okay, so we went through that. So we'll start here. The various actions of the rite which is being performed tell a story, and tell it in the best possible way as far as the subconscious minds of those taking part are concerned. Now, for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you should remember in the book Taught with Shruti, she talks about the purpose of Tantra. She talks about ritual, and she says the same thing. She said that you are performing, you're reflecting the dance of the cosmos down here in the microcosm. You're reflecting the macrocosm. That's what ritual is. Remember that from the early chapters of Taught with Shruti? So he says here, the ritual that's being performed, it tells a story, and they tell it in the best possible way as far as the subconscious minds of those taking part are concerned. The subconscious mind speaks metaphorically, not literally, right? Not point A to point B. It speaks metaphorically. So in order, the best way, the quickest way, the most efficient way to get to your subconscious mind is through metaphor, not by breaking it down to where it makes logical sense. Because look, there's a lot of stuff that you believe that does not make logical sense. Am I right or am I wrong? There's a ton of things that you believe that doesn't make logical sense. I promise you that. We all do, actually. And that's mainly because it's an emotional belief. But the subconscious mind, it learns through metaphor. We are emotional creatures, not logical creatures. It makes us feel good, and it makes us feel smart, and it makes us feel like we have value and we're contributing value when we break it down in a way that makes sense. But truly, unless it hits the emotional aspect of the mind, unless it hits metaphorically, it will not stick. It will not stick. Isn't that so weird, right? All the logic and common sense of the world doesn't amount to anything to the subconscious mind. Jayana Brown says, shut up. Listen, there's a use for those fingers that you're typing with and for that mouth that you use to communicate with. And I tell you, typing in this chat is not it. So, the rite is so constructed that the images which are built in the minds of the participants correspond to ancient and archetypal images in the depths of the mind, and these images, charged with power, are brought nearer to the surface of the personality and powerfully affected. This is the main function of the ritual and the ceremonial of the magical lodges. The power is brought through into the conscious personality and works on all its levels, so that immediately or gradually a definite change of consciousness is brought about. In many of the lodges, the robes used in the various rites are made with a cowl which can be drawn over the head in order that the wearer may be completely hidden. This is very helpful. It prevents distraction and makes for impersonality. After all, the separate personalities are making up the whole of the magical rite. And in this team, we do not try to spot the brilliant players, rather we look at the rite as a unity. In much the same way, the vestments of the Catholic priest also emphasize his impersonality, for he is the officiant in a truly magical rite, and his personality as such should not come into the picture at all. It takes a real one to understand that, and there ain't many real ones. There is yet another reason for wearing robes when taking part in the magical rite. The very fact of assuming another dress tends to attune your mind to the spirit of the ceremony. This is by reason of the association of ideas, and as you begin to array yourself in the ceremonial dress, so your mind is drawn away from the outer mundane world and becomes sensitive to the subjective world in which you are going to work. That's why. That's why when performing magic and doing your ritual and that sort of thing, you wear the robe, you wear the cloak and cowl, or you do whatever you do, because it's a symbol of separating yourself from the collective unconscious and tapping into the subconscious mind, focused entirely on the ritual at hand. There's a reason for it. There's a purpose for it. Perhaps I can emphasize this by suggesting that you turn your mind back to your childhood days and recall when, with the aid of one or two articles of clothing, you created for yourself a world of cops and robbers, or cowboys and Indians. The dress does help in the establishment of a certain frame of mind, and its presence during the ceremony acts as a persistent reminder of the task you are undertaking. MC Maestro, I peeped the reference. Jose Munoz, peace. Josue Munoz, nice of you to join us. A word here about your robes. For the ordinary work of meditation, etc., and for the exercises which I have given you, it is not necessary to wear any particular dress. But nevertheless, such a meditation robe is helpful. A simple, loose-fitting robe which can be easily slipped over the head is the kind of thing which is worn in the lodge. You can increase its efficiency by having a hood attached, and this can be drawn over the head when you're using the robe. It is very interesting to note how much this simple device tends to isolate you from outside things. I can speak from experience and attest to how true that is. Now you will have to apply in your own way what I have told you here. And all these things, although there is a very definite occult discipline, much is left to what is known as the ingenium of the worker. Gain a good grasp of the principles involved, and then work them out in your own way. In my published books, I have given you some of the principles, and within the limits of your discipline, you are free to do a little experimenting. Do not be afraid to experiment, on the other hand, and do not take this for permission to monkey with the buzzsaw by altering any one of the exercises you've been given. Quite apart from the psychological aspect of rites and ceremonies, there is a very real psychic aspect too. And I want briefly to explain something of this to you. You are already aware that in a magical rite, we claim to build up an inner psychic structure, which will enable us to concentrate and direct the energies which we are about to draw through into personal levels. And this is done by the spell of woven paces and waving hands. But do not make the mistake of thinking that the performance of a rite without a definite mental intention will produce much in the way of results, though it may perhaps arouse an association of ideas and bring through a trickle of power. The ritual work must always be in the outer expression of a real inner purpose. Now, when you perform a ritual with intention, as we say, you will be building up a definite set of thought images. And those of us who possess the clairvoyant faculty can see that these thought images are formed in the plastic substance of the astral light. It is these images which form the conducting channels for the inner energies which we call down into our personal sphere. We are building a composite thought form. And for this reason, the terminology of the building trade is very applicable. And most of the ritual orders make use of it. You will, of course, be familiar with its use in connection with the very wonderful Masonic order. Uh-oh. Sheesh. Have to keep it transparent with y'all. I got my son over here this weekend, and I really had to adjust my schedule inverted. Usually I stay up through the night and sleep during the day, but since his mother kind of surprised me here, long story short, I'm hoping that this monster starts to kick in. Because boy, oh boy. Parents don't get too much sleep when the kids are around and there's work to do.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. You keep digging.
Woodcutter Dave, peace.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. You keep digging.
All right, let's keep it pushing. I wanted to finish this up tonight is what I'm saying, but there is a chance that I will not. We'll see. We'll see. Oh yeah. All right, so now you will have to apply in your own way what I've told you here. And all these things, although there is very definite occult discipline, much is left to what is known as the ingenium of the worker. Gain a good grasp of the principles involved, and then work them out in your own way. In my published books, I have given you some of the principles, and within the limits of your discipline, you are free to do a little experimenting. Do not be afraid to experiment. On the other hand, do not take this for permission to monkey with the buzzsaw by altering any one of the excuses you've been given. Quite apart from the psychological aspect of rites and ceremonies, there is a very real psychic aspect also. And I want briefly to explain something of this to you. You are already aware that in a magical rite, we claim to build up an inner psychic structure, which will enable us to concentrate and direct the energies which we are about to draw through into the personal levels. And this is done by the spell of woven paces and waving hands. But do not make the mistake of thinking that the performance of a rite without a definite mental intention will produce much in the way of results, although it may perhaps arouse an association of ideas and bring through a trickle of power. The ritual work must always be the outer expression of a real inner purpose. That's important right there. The ritual work, right? And see this, you might see people posting pictures of their ritual and this tools that they used. But look what it says. The ritual work must always be the outer expression of a real inner purpose. So no matter what you see or what you display and show, that's not the actual intent. The ritual is just the expression of what's already happened on the inside. Those of you who've actually done this stuff, hasn't there been times where the manifestation happened even before you attempted the ritual? Like, say for example, you were at work and you planned on doing this ritual when you got home, but before you got home, you found that the thing started to come to pass already. I've had many experiences where the result has manifested before I even started the ritual. Hell, I've had things manifest during the ritual. But that's a sign that goes to show that the ritual is simply your outer expression of something that's already happened on the inside. MC Maestro says, I think homie is running out of accounts. You know, perhaps that's what that 10-minute wait was all about. Richard Tracy says, sometimes ritual manifestation can act retroactively. So now when you perform a ritual with intention, as we say, you will be building up a definite set of thought images, and those who possess the clairvoyant faculty can see that those thought images are formed in the plastic substance of the astral light. It is these images which form the conducting channels for the inner energies which we call down into our personal sphere. We are building a composite thought form, and for this reason, the terminology of the building trade is very applicable, and most of the ritual orders make use of it. You will, of course, be familiar with its use in connection with the very wonderful Masonic order. It is true that for the greater number of its members, such a thing as thought form building is quite non-existent, but that does not alter the fact that if they sincerely take part in the craft ritual, they do actually build such forms. Here I want to give you a word of warning. That which you can build by intention and right can equally be broken down by a suitable use of intention and right. It follows then that on all matters connected with such thought building, it is necessary to preserve secrecy. This is the real reason for the secrecy of the lodge working. It is not that no one knows the general rituals, for they have been published openly or semi-openly many times. What is important is that the workings of the lodge concerned should be kept secret. Each lodge is it on its own contact, as we say, and it is the form of its ritual work which must be kept secret. The great psychologist Jung has some rather disparaging remarks to make about occult secrecy. He points out, quite rightly, that it is possible to acquire a kind of guilt complex with regard to the secret work, and to develop, in addition, a cut-off attitude towards those who are not of us. This, of course, is a possibility. But if the lodge is giving true teaching, all its activities will be correlated with the everyday activities of the brethren. And then this occult secrecy is seen to be simply the equivalent of the notice on the workshop door, "Keep out, men at work." Ram-O, peace. It is, of course, well known that many secret societies have been used for political purposes, and in many cases for politically subversive purposes. In the true lodges, however, party politics of any kind have no place. All meet in equality on the floor of the lodge, and the workings of the lodge are directed towards the building and transformation of character. No attempt is made to interfere, either overtly or covertly, in the political sphere. All history has shown the folly of attempting such spiritual work. An outstanding example is the endeavor made by the Polish Hasidim to influence the Napoleonic Wars in Europe. Lord have mercy. I believe the Red Bull is not working anymore. Well, we're gonna wrap it up with this one. Okay, so in the group thought form, which is built up by the use of ritual, there are certain focal points where the influences which well up from the deeper strata of the collective unconscious of the race are brought into contact with the group and charge the form with their own particular energy. The officers of the lodge are, to use a technical term, contacted on these focal points. They thus become channels through which the energies concerned enter into and charge up the composite thought form. So behind each officer there is built up a certain figure which represents the power of his or her office. These telesmatic images are strongly visualized by the officers concerned and also by the higher grade brethren who are present. They are part of the mechanism whereby the deeper forces of the collective unconscious are channeled into the group. You will hear them referred to as the God forms, and you will have to learn how to build up such forms. And, though this comes at a later stage, you will learn how to link up the forms with the forces they symbolize, and of which they will be the channels. Interesting. I only touched upon this part of the subject because I want you to see how important are your 5-finger exercises in visualization. This may help you in those dry periods when the heavens are as brass and it seems as if any proficiency you may have gained in the past has been lost. Now I think I have given you as much as you need at this stage of your training. And I want you to meditate upon what you have been told, and I do mean meditate. The implications of what I have told you are really far-reaching, and steady meditation should help you to comprehend them. In your next instructions, I will try to answer your queries in connection with some difficulties you seem to be having in your training, and we will see if any light can be thrown upon them. However, whether things go smoothly or otherwise, persevere with the exercises. Do not make the mistake of stopping until you hear from me. This can be a subtle way of dodging the work involved, for the subconscious levels can and do make use of such things. At the same time, of course, since you are under the training of the lodge, you are also under its protection. And should things become too much for you, you do not hesitate to help. Do not hesitate to shout for help. It will be forthcoming. Oy vey. Okay, everyone, so we discussed about the drawing in of power and the importance of balancing that power. We talked about how it's going to be extremely useful and appropriate to actually channel that power into the etheric body, and how that etheric body acts as this liaison between these planes for us. We talked about the subconscious mind and how performing the ritual, performing the ceremony, helps to allow the subconscious mind to organize itself on your behalf through utilizing these energies. But it seems that at this point, I am no longer able to fight the sleep. The astral plane is calling me non-stop, blowing up my phone, and I don't have much of a choice other than to answer it. So we'll pick up next week, chapter 14. We still got a healthy bit to read. Momo Sise says, man, this text calls for multiple overlookings. Yes, it does. But yeah, I'd originally planned on getting all the way through this, but I'm not able to really resist the sleep. Not anymore. All right, so hopefully this gave you some food for thought. This gave you something to chew on. This gave you something to practice on your own time, bringing through the power, woven paces and waving hands. Glory, glory. All right, everybody. Appreciate you being here as usual. Thank you for your dedication to the science, to shining light upon the mystery, and getting your self-understanding. Tune in next time. And also, stay on task, right? I know that you are working on your thing, whatever it is, whatever you're manifesting right now, stick with it. You're so much closer than you were 2 weeks ago, so much closer than you were 2 months ago. Keep at it. Stay focused. Don't allow distraction to knock you off your square. All right, everybody, I'm out. So thank you so much for joining. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you all. Peace. Good night. People are awesome. Thank you so much for your support. You inspire me. I wonder what I'm going to program myself to dream about tonight. What kind of answers am I looking for? Before I take a sip from that red cup, what's behind the door of that mystical hotel room in the clouds? All right. Peace out. Peace out. Oh yeah, also the sun conjunct Neptune, something like that tomorrow. It's a pretty big deal. Big dreams and lots of intoxication. Not for me though, I gave that up. Isn't it what's the holiday? Richard Tracy, you should know that. The Irish holiday. Even though technically he wasn't Irish. Yeah, that's it. So we got the Sun conjunct Neptune. That's gonna be a powerful St. Patrick's Day. Thank you, Anna Molly. That's gonna be a powerful not transit, but what is it called? Aspect. There it is. A powerful aspect. Look it up. Go to Google and type in Sun conjunct Neptune. What does that mean? Specifically in Pisces. That makes it extra wet. And who doesn't like it like that? All right. Good night.